What's popping, y'all? It is MC Miss Marvel Storm 110 back at it again, aka Latoya Justice Shari, if you know me, baby. And you are listening to Ark Carpe Diem podcast. Honey, we are about to get into it with my big bro, Steve, real name, no gimmicks.
Salute,
Ark
salute, salute.
of let him what is good. So first of all, this man is the founder, the uncle grandpa of of the Hold Up TV. He has like a million
Yes, yes.
podcasts. Uh so he kills it every day.
Yes. I tried. I tried.
Every day. And
I
so I have so many questions, so much advice that I know that you are going to bestow upon us. First and foremost, what made you even want to start podcasting in the first place?
So that's like a three-layered situation there, right? So back in the day, you know what I'm saying? It's my born day today. So I'm 42 years old. You know what I'm
Happy
saying?
birthday!
Thank you, thank you. I grew up in an era of like, MTV, VJ host, radio host. I'm from New York, so I grew up listening to Kiss FM, Hot 97, and then Power 105 eventually. And I was always the type of person that loved to have conversations, very opinionated. People know that about me. And I love, mixing it up. So what actually started this all started with a conversation when I was around 18 years old with a guest I actually had on my on Conversations That Matter. And I was like, man, I wish that somehow I could sit down, do something that's impactful, and have a good time while I'm doing it. Now, this is before the advent of YouTube and all that stuff, man. This is like, I'm talking about MySpace didn't exist. We were all still up in the AOL chat rooms at this point.
What?
We fast forward a couple of decades, and the very first podcast I was ever a part of was a podcast called Gaming with a Dad. It was
Oh,
a coworker with mine. We were playing video games. He was a first person shooter gamer, played things like Call of Duty, and the premise of the show was him teaching me how to play these games. The issue with that is you get really burnt out doing that type of stuff. Like we were recording every night, and he's editing. He took on the majority of the workload, and we beat the first game, and we were like, all right, we got to do something different. So we switched the show to something called Talking with a Dad.
right.
And that was basically me and my buddy just talking weekly about topics going on in gaming. And then we went into some cultural stuff. And what changed it for me was we did our first interview where we
Mm,
invited a friend of mine who's a very well known voice actor, a brother by the name of EK Amadi. He's done a lot of stuff that you would know. You know what I'm saying? I'll let him shout himself out in that regard, but shout out to him. He was our first interview on Gaming with a Dad. And I remember when I was interviewing him, it's a dual interview, but while I was talking to him, people were giving me really positive feedback like, hey, man, I want you to know that was a great conversation. And
right.
so from there, I just kept, we kept steamrolling. I kept getting other guests, people I found interesting to come on the show. I had a brother by the name of Light Burley from New York City, king of not king, but practitioner of the 51 block system. Very interesting thing in the African American and Latino community. And he came onto the show. No reason for him to do this. He's just like EK, much huger. He had a huger platform. He was doing his thing. He agreed, came on. We had a 2-hour conversation, and I was hooked. So my good friend Mantis he'd been doing his own thing on Voice of the Fat Mantis on YouTube for quite some time now, and he had gotten offered a job at a little app called Spoon.
Mm,
Mantis went over, and he was one of their first originals, right? And he also was one of their curators for the show. He would curate events, and he kept pushing me to come over there. And when I first got the Spoon, I really wasn't into the live streaming thing. So if it was still available, you go back and listen to my first stream on Spoon. It's me talking about tech. I was trying to do the with a dad thing on Spoon. I was like, this is not going to work. You know what I'm saying? Like, I got to find my own voice, do my own thing. So the very first thing I did that I felt like was of any worth, it was me shouting out other spooners. Like I would just do snippets of me talking into the mic, playing music. And I'm like, yeah, I had my best radio voice on. I'm like, yo, what's up? It's your man Steve, real name, no gimmick. Came out of DJ Eddie's room, and that man was killing it. And I just took it from there. The first interview I had on Spoon was Mantis, and then Mantis introduced me to G Forte. And
right.
I credit G with a lot of the success that I had on Spoon because he really opened the door for me by coming on and allowing me to interview him. And again, it was such a great conversation, conversation's as good as the 2 people participating in it, and G's such an interesting person that it
Mm,
really flowed. And G was giving me some encouragement, Mantis was giving me encouragement, and then one day, and I mean this, I'm not trying to sell y'all no cap. I was sitting upstairs with my family. This is in the middle of COVID, and I'm like, "Man, I gotta do something else. Like, I can't just do interviews 5 days a week."
right.
It dawned on me, I was like, "I love music. I love talking about music." I'm like, "I'm gonna do an R&B night." I think the first music night I did on Spoon before it officially became Request Box was I did, like, a house music night, and 3 people
Right.
showed, and then I did a drum and bass night, and then 10 people showed up, and then I did an R&B night, and there were like 25 people. And if you're saying, "Whoa, what big deal?" For this app, that's a pretty big deal, right?
Huge, phenomenal.
Like, and so I started doing these music streams on Spoon to kind of just build up the muscle to be able to entertain, create, and express myself. And it became a popular show. It became a staple, and I did that Monday through Friday. And I named the show Request Box Live. If you know, you know. Spoon had something called the Request Box, so I just combined that, and I officially named my interview show Conversations That Matter, which I did on Tuesdays, when I would have people come on, and that's how it started for me, man. I did that all through COVID, grinded Monday through Friday, cranking out content, having a good time.
First of all, so you already had the concept of conversations that matter before you even became a podcaster. So what was that platform like at all? Because you was doing this way back. You know what I'm
Well,
saying? Like what was that about?
so the thing about it is, man, if to be completely frank, right, I've always had the blessing, and I'm gonna take a shot at myself, but also thank God in this. I've always had the blessing to be kind of like the Forrest Gump of the industry. Like if you look at pictures and certain things, like people be like, "Yo, you were there?" I'm like, "Yeah, I was there, brother." And like because I've always had that experience where I've always just by pure chance, by the grace of God, I've landed in situations where I've met dope people. I felt like there should be someone from my group and my era to chronicle these things, right? And
Right.
I wanted to bridge that into what's going on today with the culture. You know what I'm saying? The before it was Conversations That Matter, and I was just doing interviews. I interviewed my cousin, Cavario H, and he wrote a book about our family called Raised by Wolves. And
Mm,
he's very affluent in early hip hop journalism culture. And so he came on, and that's how that concept just kept coming up. I just didn't have a name for it. Like I was
right.
having conversations of substance, and I was having it with people I enjoyed talking to. And then it really just popped off with Spoon, like Conversations That Matter. Now, the unfortunate part is I did not copyright that. I don't own that name. There were like 100 other shows on YouTube with that same name, but that's where it started, was chronicling interesting people and bringing it to the forefront.
That's very important. That's
Yes.
very important. Um, because I feel like your voice is such a unique one because number one, blurs. You know what I'm
Right.
saying? Blurs
Right.
see things
Right.
from a different perspective.
Right.
Um, two,
Absolutely.
two, you're a father, you're a family man, and you're a creative person.
Right.
How do you feel? First of all, how do you feel the culture of the blurs
Mm.
is represented as compared to what it was maybe 5 or 10 years ago?
Like 5 or 10 years ago, man, like when I was coming up, there was no term blurred, right? You were just someone that acted white, right? So it was like you were a
Right.
black kid or you were a Latino kid that was into what was supposed to be a predominantly white interest, a white subculture. So back when I was coming up, it was borderline dangerous to like have to do things that went against the norm, like growing up in Harlem. I remember when I kind of went off the unbeaten path there, and it was like I traded my Timbs in for kickwares and Vans, and I started skateboarding and stuff. Like this was a very dangerous thing. The brothers did not receive it well. But
Right.
what I noticed was the more I sought out people like myself, the more blurs I met. And when you talk about that lens of the blurred, it's like
Yes.
I had a homeboy named Hour, man. I think this answers your question extremely well. Hour was an amazing tagger. You know what I'm saying? Like he wasn't an artist, but he was an amazing tagger, and he did etch work. And he was a brilliant skateboarder. And he sat down one night while we were burning, and he just explained to me the way he sees the world. He's like, most people just see, a glass on the train, but I see an opportunity to let people know I was here. Most
Right.
people just see a rail, but I see something that can be skated and I can have a good time with it for free. When it comes to
Right.
like being a blurred, I feel as if though the way I look at the world is not to go as far as the brother Kanye did, right? But I
Mm,
have interests that supersede any stereotype you're gonna place on me. You know what I'm saying?
right.
Like I have interests that have been given to me primarily by my mother. My mother
Right.
got into rock music. You know what I'm saying? My earliest memories are of me and my mother singing in our apartment in Harlem and her listening to Guns N' Roses. You know what I'm saying?
Me
And that's
too.
how I got into it. And she bought me my first comic. So the way I view the world is through that lens. Like, what else is out there? What else is popping? What aren't people checking for?
Right.
And being a blurred, if you're going to label yourself that, it's also about community. Because the first time you meet another black person like yourself in my generation, you think you done fucking been transported to the Enterprise. You know what I'm saying? Like you into this shit too, and like, like we're having conversations, but it has impacted my view on the world because it's made me more interested in people, right? And
Right.
the things they nerd out on and what their fandoms are and what their interests are. You look at a cat like John Michel Basquiat, famous
Yes.
artist from
I
from
keep
New York.
thinking about him. Why are you in my brain?
Like he is a brother. I feel as if though like that original Soho crew, they understood what it was like to be different, and I think that's
Exactly.
where it comes from. Obviously blurred is a short way to say black nerd, but they understood what it was like to be different and they built something out of being different. And now here we are in 2023, and just to see where it's gone, you know what I'm saying, like just to see how young kids of colors, specifically black children,
Right.
don't have the thumb of "you're weird" on their necks anymore. And now
Exactly.
it's like it's acceptable. You know what I'm saying? And I'm happy to see it. So that's how it's altered my view.
Do you feel like do you feel like in this situation
Mhm.
where you're creating content and you're using your platform, do you feel like you're using it to elevate people who are different? And are you still searching for people who are pretty much in the same type of group as you?
I would so to answer the first part, I feel like I'm elevating people with different views and differing views. And I realize now after doing this for a couple of years that you know, if I want to keep doing that and being true to it, I'm not always going to have people on my shows that I necessarily agree with or my audience agrees with. But the benefit of doing stuff like that is that it opens up a conversation, right? So, yeah,
Right.
to answer that part of the question, I feel as if though I'm still doing that. I know that I'm doing it. The issue becomes, however, not creating an echo chamber or
Mm,
creating a place of conflict, right? These are two things I'm completely conscious of. I don't want to just be around a bunch of people that agree with everything I say. But I
exactly.
also don't just wanna spend my days arguing, right?
Right.
I like the happy medium, and if you've been to any show that I've been on, if a debate breaks out, I have no problem weighing in on that. But when it comes to interviewing people and highlighting people, I wanna highlight their talents, I wanna highlight their worldviews, and I wanna give people an opportunity to answer the question uninterrupted. That is important to me. You know what I'm saying? Like, if I interview someone, I ask them a question. I like to sit back and let them go on their tangent. You know what I'm saying? Like really hear where they're coming from, and then exposing people to new interesting personalities. That's my thing. The second portion as a content creator, right? I try to be purposeful about it.
Mm,
You know what I'm saying? Like I try to have intention around what I'm doing, and as strange as that might sound to people, because if you go look at my YouTube channel, I only have 412. I'm sorry, like 445 subscribers. You know what I'm saying?
that's
My
a
Twitch,
blessing.
my yeah, my Twitch is monetized, but that's only for affiliate. I have some episodes up on podcasts. I have some shows that have thousands of views. I have some shows that have 12 views. But I stepped into each show more concerned with what I was putting out there. You know what I'm saying?
Right.
Like, and what I'm doing. So I try to be respectful in that sense of the craft.
Did you ever collab with someone and realize that it had potential to be greater than what it was, but the person didn't see that same vision?
Yes. Yes, I absolutely have. But I'm not gonna go too deep into that.
No, no.
So I have seen talent in people where they may not have seen talent in themselves. You know what I'm saying? And I know we live in a world of flim flam. men, right?
Right.
You know what I'm saying? Look what your boy DJ Envy's going through right now. He trusted some
Mm.
fool, and now he's getting dragged up and down these black internet streets all day today. I have collab with people where I'm like, man, you are an amazing person. You're interesting, but there's a talent level. At one point, I had actually turned over my show Request Box Live to a brother by the name of DJ Cincy Star because of his talent level. I was like, this guy has skills. And I don't regret that decision at all because I was like, man, it was a great opportunity to work with someone and to see if I can like relinquish that grip on it. There have been other people I've worked with where it was a one time collab, but I walked away from it feeling enriched and they walked away from it feeling enriched. Like I said, when I did that episode with my cousin, man, like I got to sit in the presence, besides him being my family, of someone who had been a huge part of helping us get where we're at now in regards to content creation. You know what I'm saying? Like this is a brother that started a magazine company and was being handed out at barbershops. You know what I'm
Right.
saying? And then it turned into a huge thing. So just to have that and that collab, like I wanted to press him for more, be like, yo, let's do something together. But I didn't pay my dues. So I just took that experience and used it to motivate myself. You know what I'm saying?
That's really important. That's
Yeah.
really important. A lot of people are creators. Like I've seen a lot of creators on Spoon and they stayed on Spoon, but paying your dues, putting that work in, staying
Right.
10 toes down, going to other platforms.
Right.
Like I feel like that's an important thing.
It's huge.
And people don't realize that because your voice is everything and it does matter. Some people agree, some people disagree. Um, you've been doing this for a very long time. Like it wasn't just podcasting and boom, there I go.
No, 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 no.
What would be your advice to someone who wanted to start podcasting today and thinks that hey, it's gonna be easy. I could just start podcasting and boom, there it is.
So my first piece of advice is to abandon that thought, right?
Mm,
It's easy, but it also requires a level of commitment, right? Anyone can get a voice recorder, use their cell phone, put their headset on, and just start talking into it, right? But the question becomes, do you want to just be someone that's making stuff or do you want to make stuff of substance? And then you have to get used to the fact that, or accept the reality that you may never get famous from this. This is a
right,
very saturated market. You know what I'm saying? If you go look at the amount of podcasts that are actually hosted on Apple Podcasts, Google Podcasts, you look at YouTube, look at some of your competition, you got to ask yourself the question like, what is my intent in doing this? And am I willing to get it out the mud? There are some very controversial figures on YouTube, right? One of which we've talked about multiple
mm.
times. But let's look at a guy like Kevin Samuels. You know what I'm saying?
Mm.
He had been doing this for 10 years before he
Yep.
had his viral moment. You know what I'm saying? Like he definitely got it out the mud. There are other people like a woman by the name of Grace Randolph. She does movie reviews on YouTube and she's an OG on that platform and she's been doing it forever. Still not at 1 million subscribers, but she makes a workable wage. So my advice to someone that's starting out is don't assume that you're going to be those people within a week, right? And
Right.
if you do catch that viral moment based off of controversy, my next piece of advice to you would be, is that what you want to be doing every week? Ask yourself a question. Do you want to be mixed up in that type of energy every week? And if you do, more power to you. Lean into it and just remember, keep your shit tight. What you put out is what you're going to get back. And in that regard,
Exactly.
everyone in that space always has their own exposed. But if you're just someone that's like, man, I just feel like I have something to say, then say it. Start small, man. Start recording your thoughts and putting them up, man. Do a little storyboard, get into it, and try to remind yourself, I'm doing this because I want to create, you know?
Exactly. Exactly. Now you mentioned you from Harlem.
Yes.
Um, so you from Harlem or you from Harlem?
No, my family is Harlem. My family
Well, that's
my,
enough. That's everything.
my, my no, so
That's everything.
I grew up on 113th and Adam Clayton Powell Boulevard, right? My family has been in Harlem from Sugar Hill down to where I'm at, you know what I'm saying, for many a moons. You know what I'm saying? And like Harlem was not always my first love, but as I grew older, you know what I'm saying, we moved to Chicago for a little bit, basically throughout my high school years. So
Right.
and then when I came back to Harlem and as a young adult, like 18, 19, I realized they're like, oh man, this is something that a lot of people will never understand. How many other places can say they had their own renaissance? the Cotton Club. My grandmother was a dancer at the Cotton Club. You know what I'm saying?
What?
Like she knew those guys like Bumpy Johnson. My stepdad knew the guys that they made that movie Paid in Full about. So I'm from Harlem. You know what I'm saying? But I ain't Harlem. You know what I'm saying? I was
Right.
like my mindset, and no shade to any of my peoples, right? I used to have this same conversation with my homies on the south side of Chicago, and I had the same conversation with homies when I was younger. I was like, yo, let's go do something else. That was my big thing. I'm like, let's go, let's get off the block. You know what I'm saying? And then so for some people, that's cool. They want to be on the block 24/7. I'm from Harlem, but I was like, there's a whole world outside of Harlem. There's a whole world outside of the south side of Chicago. And so I ain't Harlem, but I bleed Harlem. You said I can walk through my neighborhood. I'm good.
Listen, I'm asking that because I'm in the process of starting my journey, and we're moving. I shout out to Joe VE, Ice
Mhm.
Ice Baby. I told her, hey, I'm moving. I'm working on it. Working on my brand because we're trying to get out of where we are. There have been a lot of crazy things that have happened. Um, and when you live in a place that has gunshots and violence
Right,
and all those good things, but you're still a blurred, people
right.
kind of look at you like, hey man, I don't think you got your stuff together enough to be out in these streets.
Yeah. So what they're actually trying to say is, I think you soft. But let me say something to that effect, man. To that comment. I was never a bite first kid. That was not my natural instinct. When I grew up, I was a mama's boy. I was under my mama. You know what I'm saying? When my brothers and my dad were out there repping, my mother did what mothers are supposed to do, and she kept me from that life. Now, I
Right,
did seek it out on my own, but even then, I was doing my own thing. When it comes to being a blurred, like, and then having to get caught up in things like fools testing you,
right,
I'm sad to say this, man, but at a certain point, I had to learn to start hitting back. My first
right.
instinct was I used to let kids run my pockets. I remember one day I was coming from the friggin' newsstand, a number hole in my neighborhood. My stepdad sent me to go play the numbers, get a newspaper, and I stopped to play Mortal Kombat. And some kid robbed me and took my goddamn milk that I bought while I was on my way home. And that was like my everyday for a long time until one day the I don't want to say the culture because that's not what it is. That process took a hold of me, and I was like, all right, enough's enough. You know what I'm saying? The next person to step up is going to be the person to find out I ain't dealing with this anymore. And that happens to a lot of blurs. I know I've met a lot of brothers in places that I don't want to disclose that I've been to. You know what I'm saying? Like that. I met one brother, man, when I was locked up, and I would have never thought this cat was in the comic books at all. Like this dude ran the dorm. You know what I'm saying? Like he ran the dorm. And I mean that. Like he was like the man in charge. And I was just sitting on my bunk reading a free comic that I got from fucking where they allowed us to go to the library. This man came over and had a whole conversation with me about X-Men. You know what I'm saying?
What?
No, no, no. True realest story I ever tell, man. Like came over, started talking to me about X-Men. That I never got pressed, and I know why in retrospect from that moment because I was rolling by myself in there, but I never got pressed. I had to get him up one time, but no bullying or anything like that. And in regards to being a blurry, I hate to see that spirit stamped out by the
Right,
byproduct of like bullying in the community. Now, someone's going to take offense to what I just said, so I just want to make sure that y'all know these are my thoughts, not Mrs. Marvel, but as Black people, from my estimation, the worst thing we do to these kids is we beat that out of them. We
right.
beat it out of them with things like you act white, you talk white, and then have the nerve to say later on, well, you need to deal with your unresolved trauma. Like, okay, brother, will you point that child to the center where they can deal with their unresolved trauma? But how about we deal with the people invoking the trauma, causing the trauma on these kids because they want to do something different?
See, now I'm about to take my wig off because I'm about to say it. Listen, I grew up. I was born in Newark, but I was raised in
Right,
Brownsville, New Jersey, which is South Jersey, which is basically close to Philly.
right, right, right,
And I grew up in an area where I grew up in many different areas.
right.
One time I was living in Miami-Dade, you know what I'm saying, when my pops
Yeah,
passed away, with the ice cream man. Didn't sell ice cream, but he sold some cream.
right, right,
I'm
right.
just saying. But then another time I was living in a nice little community, and it was always, like you might be too white, you might be too urban. Remember that song Black Boy, White Boy Swag? Remember
Yeah,
that?
yeah.
And it was like, I don't know how to relate to everything that everybody else does. And there was a point where I met my biological siblings where I
Mm,
felt like I had to um be somebody else, because the first time I actually met some of them, I
mm,
was trying to, I wasn't even trying to, I was just so much intrigued by the culture of urban culture,
right.
that I wanted to just, just was that person. But then as soon as I got older, I became a substitute teacher. I started doing more business oriented jobs. I started to get my Jay-Z voice on, switch up. You know what I'm saying? One minute I'm talking another one way, and another minute I'm talking another way. And so I was talking to my brother one day, and he's from Newark. And I was
Right.
like, "Hi, brother, how are you doing? What's good?" He's like, "Who is this? Why you talking like that? So you speaking proper now. You done changed up on
Right.
us. I
Right.
see
Right.
you got the little cardigans on. What happened to the jerseys?" And I was like, "Nah, I'm still good, son.
Right.
I'm
Right.
still good. I'm
Right.
still good." But I think there is a stereotype and a stigma on like who you're supposed to be when you're a blurred. Like you can't
Mhm.
be tough, you can't be hard,
Right.
you can't be smart and educated. But I mean, there's a lot of people in history that we don't consider blurs that were. Tupac was a blur. Did you not watch the documentary about Tupac?
The man went to a performing arts school. You know what I'm
Yes,
saying? Like the man
yes.
went to a
How many
performing arts
thug
school.
magnificents you know went to performing arts schools?
Well, I mean, and here's the crazy thing about that, right? Just thinking about that situation as you're telling me about that interaction with your brother, it always like completely baffles me our response, some of our responses as black people to something that's different, right? And you can take that wherever you want to go with it, whoever's listening. But who said, right? This is a crazy idea. And I think I've said this multiple times, and I've definitely said it on the block before. Who gave you the litmus test? Not you, the people who would say something like that of what is the standard of black, right? And this is where I don't mind wading into the waters of debate. What is your definition of whitewashed, right? What is your definition of a coon, an Uncle Tom? Because often I see people use these terms for kids who just like things like skateboarding. Now, don't get me wrong, code switching happens. What you were describing happens. It's just amazing that we only make it negative when you code switch when you're around your quote unquote white friends. But no one wants to talk about the code switching that happens where you're trying to acclimate yourself into what exactly? I want to sound like my brother, my boys on the block. What are they
Right,
doing? Why do I need their acceptance? And that's the
right.
thing that baffles me completely. I did an episode of Conversation That Matters once that was completely controversial. So controversial, I only have it on the audio platform at this point. But it started with someone coming into one of my lives on Spoon and
Mhm.
saying, "Oh shit, I just saw a picture of you. You're black?" And I'm like, "What are you talking about?" And they're like, "You don't sound black." So I was like, "All right, I'm gonna address this, right?" This is when
Right.
I started like deciding to wade in these waters. I'm like, did an episode, invited Mantis, a streamer by the name of Gray Winthrop. She used to do true crime on Spoon, and DaVinci. If you know DaVinci, she's legendary. Some might say infamous on Spoon, but a good sister nonetheless. And we delved into this episode and into this topic. What does it mean to talk so white? And in that conversation, we dealt with code switching and what is misrepresentation of the people. What is a coon? And I asked the question that was really for the audience. I'm like, all right, so if a coon is someone that benefits and gains from their culture by misrepresenting or attacking their culture, how does that definition not fit a block boy? Right? And
It's
that's where
true.
my that's where I'm at with it, man. The one thing being a blurred doesn't mean is that I'm ashamed of being black. I know
Right.
my culture, I know my history, and that's why it's so dope that you and I were able to find and do these things. You know what I'm saying?
Exactly.
Blurs don't turn their back on other black people. We seek out
Exactly.
other black nerds. We're still black people. I would just read a comic book and shit. But I
Yeah.
find that interesting that people can't make that connection. So that kid over there with maybe the colorful afro, he's whitewashed, he's a coon. But the brother pumping all that weight in the neighborhood is a real N-word and to be respected. But by your definition, that man right there, you know what I'm saying? He's doing the same thing you're accusing this kid of doing.
Exactly. Exactly. it's like a whole complex thing. The truth is, even we strive to try to put everything in a box
Right.
because we want it to be
Yep.
identifiable. Think about, I was watching something on Netflix where if you put two circles here and then you put a circle here and a line there, you're going to automatically identify it as a face on
Right.
anything. It doesn't matter. We want to see the likeness of ourselves and everything. Just like when we make cartoons of animals that talk like people and walk like people and look like people. But we
Right.
know dang on well you're
Yeah.
never gonna see an animal do that in person,
Right.
except for a kangaroo. Apparently,
Right.
kangaroos get down with the best
Right.
of them. But we want to, and it's a human need. Blurs feel like that too. You want to find someone who's like you. I think the thing is, but when you're a blur, you tend to be more sensitive. So you understand that there is a line of
Yeah.
understanding everybody is everybody. You can't just change somebody just because of the
Mhm.
fact that it makes you feel more comfortable.
One.
And we have so many blurs. It's ridiculous. Maya Angelou, Oprah
Right.
Winfrey,
Right.
Beyonce. If you're passionate and you go into what you're doing, you're a freaking blur.
Right.
That's just, it is what it is. I
Right.
mean, Jay-Z literally did a whole thing, a whole switch. He turned into Basquiat overnight. I don't know
Oh,
what happened.
100%.
The
100%.
man then turned into Basquiat. I don't know if he is him or not. I'm still trying to figure this out.
Right.
Um
Right. No, no. Right. You're cooking right now.
you know what I'm saying? And you have people like Tyler the Creator, who is
Right.
so different than
Right.
any other hip hop artist. You know what
Right.
I'm saying? And people want to like think of, they didn't even want Tyler the Creator to do any music. They used to shun him and his
Right.
music and say
Right.
he wasn't black enough.
Right. Right. He didn't make hip hop for black people. Right.
Exactly. But you got to think about, what about Aerosmith and Run DMC making a song together?
They were the first example of rap rock or rapcore. You know, the shit that people gave Limp Bizkit and Papa Roach. The Run DMC, the Beastie Boys. You know what I'm saying? They had done that shit first. And it's funny that you bring up Tyler the Creator, right? So if you could go back even a little bit further in hip hop, there was this time where there was a very Afrocentric time. There was a group.
Yes.
There were a few different groups out of New York and Jersey. You had Queen Latifah, Jungle Brothers, De La Soul, Tribe Called Quest, Michelle A, and they called themselves what was this? Leaders of the New School, where Busta Rhymes came from, and they called themselves the Native Tongues. I
Right.
had Mike G from the Jungle Brothers on, and I had to tell him thank you for opening the door for me, because you cats walking around with your huge African medallions, you're wearing just crazy dress shirts with
Right.
interesting overalls and stuff like that. You know what I'm saying? Like, you guys gave a different look to black kids, man, where it was like, yo, this is what we're on. And that stuff leaks in. And when you look at a cat like Tyler the Creator, man, you can say what you want about him, but the boy got skills. He was on a
Okay.
track with the game called what was it, Goons versus Goblins or something like that. And he murdered the game on his own song. He's the feature and he killed it. And
He's a
that's why
beast
I got,
though.
he's a beast. He's a beast, man. And I think because he looks at things differently, he experienced things differently. That's gonna, if you're an MC, that's gonna broaden your range of lyrics. You know what I'm saying? You're outside of the beaten path. So I agree with you 100%. You know what I'm saying? Like, now the Jay-Z becoming Basquiat thing, I think that's a little marketing campaign, but I'll let the brothers slide.
I feel like it's a marketing campaign, but I also feel like some people are more sensitive than we know.
Yeah, yeah. He
I
did.
think we
He did a
try
lot
to
of work.
stereotype stuff, but I feel like there are some people who are more, because you got to think about Jay-Z's lyrics. He's very
Right.
intuitive.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying? Everything he says, he's intuitive. And also, I just got a weird question, and I'm just thinking about this, and this may be talked about. This ain't got nothing to do with anything.
Right.
I was listening to Biggie, okay, because
Okay.
I was just on a podcast before this,
Okay.
okay, and it said,
Grinding. My sister's out here grinding. I got you.
listen, so remember when Biggie said, "Time to get paid, blow up like the world trade."
Right.
Do you not think that's a little bit of
Well,
visionary type nonsense? Because that happened in the 90s.
well, so Biggie would have been alive. I think he is close to the same, would have been the same age as me, or maybe a few years older than me. So he would have remembered the first attempt to bring down the trade towers, which was insane, right? And then it happens again. But yeah, that's foreshadowing, man. But again, Biggie was a product of his environment. You know what I'm
Right.
saying? And he had a way of articulating that in his lyrics that I think was masterful. You know what I'm saying? Like,
Right.
obviously, for me personally, if we're talking about New York MCs, it's Big L, then Biggie, you know what I'm saying, and then Jay Z. And the reason I put him in that order is Big L passed away, and that really opened it up for Jay Z and Biggie. And then Biggie passed, and Jay stepped right into that space.
Right.
I recognize the fact that Jay Z is going through a transformation, right? After
Right.
the whole thing that happened with him cheating on Beyonce, and then her making a whole diss album about him, man started
Yeah.
doing some work. He started doing some work, and then his mind starts to open. And I think sometimes as Black people, we look at the extremes, right? So Kanye kind of set us back a little bit in regards to this
You really
conversation.
mad at Kanye, Steve? You feeling some type of way?
No, I don't feel some type of way. I'm a pragmatist though, because I feel for Kanye. I was the
Yeah.
guy that was like, "Hey man, y'all need to stop hoisting this brother up like he's some political pundit or some." You know what I'm saying? He is a man going through some real pain. He lost his
Real.
mother. You know what I'm saying? He's going through a lot. He's an extremely creative guy, so his mind is moving a million miles per hour. But people, in regard, this is just my opinion in regards to the conversation about Black people and being a blurred or being, different, if we're going to use that term, Kanye kind of hijacked the conversation and took it to I'm a free thinker. And then his natural progression as a free thinker led him to Nick Fuentes. So now, as a Black person, if you say you're a free thinker, people think you're using the code for I'm a conservative. As opposed to no, I just think about things a little differently. But I ain't mad at that, brother. I'm mad at Kim for ruining his life. I'm joking. I'm joking.
I I I I
Kim ain't
watched the documentary about it's called Yeezus. It was on
yeah,
Netflix. I
yeah,
watch a
yeah.
lot of documentaries. I love hip hop documentaries. I'm sorry, that is my jam,
Yes.
no peanut butter. And
Right.
so I was watching this, and for a very long time, it was like years, Kanye was trying to prove himself to Rockefeller. He was
Yeah.
trying to prove himself to Def Jam. And
Mhm.
I feel like that type of like need to prove yourself for years and years can do some type of damage to you.
Yeah, yeah. Don't you surmise that perfectly, man. Listen, think about when Kanye was a part of The Rock. You know what I'm saying?
Mhm.
Think about the type of cats who was signed to Rock. You got Beanie Siegel, Freeway,
Mm,
Dame Dash. You know what I'm saying? That whole era of hip hop right there. And then you got Kanye, right? Beanie Siegel once told a story about how he had to go to a diner in Lower Manhattan to help Kanye because Kanye was getting pressed by some Brooklyn cats. You know what I'm saying? That's
mm,
who Kanye was. He's not a thug, and I don't think he ever represented it. But I think the best era of Kanye was when he really started stepping into his ego. This is a double-edged sword that I'm stepping
yeah.
on. But when he started stepping into his ego in that first album, I was like, yo, that man, he had a song on that first first album as how does that verse go? If my manager insults me again, I will be assaulting him.
Oh
After I
yeah, yeah, yeah,
after I F my manager up, then I'm gonna shorten the register up. And he was talking about working at the Gap. You know what I'm saying? And I was like, I feel that. I worked at Yellow at Bastard. I'm like, yeah, I hate my manager too. In fact, but like, and then College Dropout was such an insane album because his cadence was different.
yeah,
Now, where it went to, that's on him. But I don't want the conversation to be hijacked. You know what I'm saying? I feel like there are brothers and sisters that are in on off the beaten path, and they're not all gonna go hang out with Nazi sympathizers. You know what I'm saying? Like they're just people that listen to some rock sometimes. Sorry, I went on a tangent there. Sorry.
it's it's fine. I honestly feel like you know Kanye is a genius, and sometimes with a genius you go mad. You just go insane when it comes to just trying to sum up the world in your eyesight.
Right.
And sometimes when you're trying to tell somebody, have you ever tried to tell somebody something and you're hearing it clear as day in your head, but when
Right.
somebody listens to it, they don't understand what you're saying?
Yeah, I'm married. Been married for almost 10 years. That's I'm sure my wife has had that same experience with me. But yes, I know exactly what you're talking about.
and, you're like, hey, this is what it is.
Right, right.
But he is a genius on delivery, on tone. He turned the ugliest shoes in the world. The
Think so.
ugly, some of them shoes was just so ugly. It looked like
Yeah.
a sponge with a foot in it. And I
Right.
was like, dang, I might want to rock that sponge. I might
That's
want to get one of those.
that's why I knew I was officially old. Like I am by nature old, you know. But I remember looking at some Yeezys and I was like, "Nah, I'm good. I'm okay on the Jetsons shoes." You know what I'm saying? Like, I'm all good on
Me
the red
choices.
boots, all that stuff. I'm good on that stuff, man.
I
Yo,
don't know.
you know what's crazy though? Because I've been looking forward to having this conversation, and I just want to give you a shout out because if I could turn it for a second, the reason why it's so important to reinforce Black creatives, right? And so I'm gonna wax pro Black for a second. The reason
Right.
why I am so pro supporting Black creators who are making things of substance, like you just literally said a moment ago, you did a podcast before this, right? And then you've been banging out interviews. And what you're bringing to the table is the opportunity. One, it's dope that you're supporting content creators from various different ranges, smaller to bigger. And two, seeing your development as a content creator. You came out of nowhere on my radar, like a tornado. You know what I'm saying? Like, in the most positive sense. Like I remember the first time I went into Enough Said, and I was like, "Oh, who's this sister?" I thought they were just interviewing you, and you brought such a different element to the show. A great show already, and then you
Yeah.
just completely complimented with your experience, and that's what I love to see. You know what I'm saying? I love to see Black creatives out here, not not shackled to the type of media we're supposed to bring. There's not going to be another academics. You could save that. Stop trying to be
Right.
that. There's not
Right.
going to be another Jay-Z. There's not going to be another any of these people. But when a person steps in and they say, "I'm going to do my thing the way I do my thing," that's what makes it dope. You know what I'm saying? And shout out to you for doing that because you are a sister out here. Shout out to you. Shout out to Bex. You know what I'm saying? Another sister. Y'all are out here
Sexy.
bringing great content to people. I think that's dope, man. It lends itself to this conversation of Black influencers and what influence are they trying to bring to the table. So shout out to you.
Thank you so much. I appreciate it. I I've been podcasting since 2019. I had my fake radio station when I was a kid. I've been creating, whether it's drawing or writing or whatever,
Right.
forever long. Like I came out with my first book around the same time, and I keep creating. At first, it was just me doing it because I like doing it.
Right.
And this year, after being on Spoon, after being a part of Enough Said, after even November of last year, it made me realize like I got to do something. There are always moments where I feel like I don't know if I'm doing the right thing, and I've had to talk to Tree, to Jovi, to other people. But then I was like, man, I'm trying to build an arc,
Right.
trying to build an arc, and that
Right.
takes a lot of work.
It does. It does. And it's not for the faint of heart, man. You know what I'm saying? Like this, doing this grind will really separate you and teach you things about yourself, man. Like you're like, I'm committed to this. I'm committed to this process. That I interviewed a brother once, by the name of El Guapo. His YouTube channel, which stands at like I don't know, some crazy like 70,000 subs, and like he's got an active community. They donate. They with this man. They rock with this man.
Mm,
And his channel originally started with him just wanting to leave a message behind for his three daughters at the time, like wanting to leave life advice behind. We won't get into, his views, but that was the essence of it. You know what I'm saying? And then it turned into something else. He was building an arc. You know what I'm saying? He started a conversation, and now he's got this great catalog for his grandchildren, his children, because even if they don't agree with all the things that come out of his mouth, they will always have their father at his best, speaking clearly about issues that are very important to him. And that's what I think is great about this time we live in. Like, think about the way technology has impacted the way we shape and share stories. Back in the day, you had to have a parchment, you know what I'm saying? And you have to, we hope the parchment made it a few thousand years so someone will remember who you are, unless it was a really impactful story. But now, with the advent of the internet and YouTube, Facebook, all this stuff, millions of stories are being told all the time, and families will always have that to hold on to. So your family's gonna have this to hold on to. It's dope.
I'm
Dope.
thankful. I'm thankful. I'm thankful for the internet. I'm thankful for just wanting to be creative. And I know, like I don't know if it is for you like it is for me. I feel like it's an outlet. Do you feel like it's an outlet, a chance to just shh?
Absolutely. Have you been to Request Box Live, man? Like when I do like these music streams, man, like there have been nights where I'm just screaming into the mic, or there have been nights where I just go into deep thought about why I like a song and what made me play it in the background. You know what I'm saying? And like it is very much an outlet for me. What it isn't for me though is not an opportunity to make myself into some grandiose figure. And I
Mm,
learned that from G. And I want to give him a real good shout out on this. There is a man by the name of Gerard Forte that had a
mm,
show called The Morning Journal on Spoon.
right.
And I will always say this, and any opportunity I get to say it, from observing him and Mantis and a few other people on Spoon, I learned what it meant to commit to your craft. He did, what was it? Something like, how many episodes did he end on? Was it 800? I cannot remember. But
Yeah.
like he did Morning Journal 6 a.m. Monday through Friday, and they did another show at night, and then they did a members only stream on Sundays. And every day, whether we could sense it or not, because I'm sure he has life going on. I'm sure he didn't want to do it all the time, but he came, he showed up, and brought a level of quality to his content. And I think that's absolutely amazing. It's amazing. It's a model to follow.
That's important. G
Yeah.
Forte is very dope. He's very
He's
creative
the
as
real
well.
grandfather of this shit, man.
Exactly. Like I feel like when I first started really taking Spoon seriously, because I'm gonna be honest with you, when I first got on there, I was like, because I was, I was already doing podcasting on other
Right, right,
platforms. So when I went on there, I was like, I'll try it. And then I was
right.
like, nah, I don't take this seriously. Like I don't. And then I saw G's platform. I was like, oh, there's people really taking this seriously. This isn't just talking. You know what I'm
No,
saying? And then
no,
I saw like it was G, it was Tree's platform. I seen enough said, and I was like, yeah, I could probably do something with it. And I remember just writing, just doing the talks because I was afraid to do the lives. I was like, nah,
right,
I'm not doing no lives. I'm not getting
right.
on there. And G, I asked the question, like, what do you think is the best way to do a podcast or something like that? And G responded with a whole in-depth conversation and
Yeah,
then made a talk about it. And I was like, yo, like that's what you need. You need people who are going to not just make their own platform and build it, but they're going to help other people. They're going
right.
to extend an olive branch. Like that is so important. Like I feel like Tree did that for me and a lot of other people. I feel
Yeah,
like G did that. I feel like even just people responding back in the chats. You know what I'm saying?
right,
Because people could think something but not say something.
right.
That is
100%.
important because you're
100%.
starting a conversation. You're starting a conversation. And I was like, yeah, this is what's up.
Yeah, yeah.
This is about to happen. I feel
Yeah, and
it.
shout out to Tree, man. She was another person that put a battery in my back, man. It's you never know the impact you're gonna have on people, right? And the impact that she had on me was she would come through to the show, man, whether it was 6 people, 20 people, or 1 people. But one night, the comment that stood out for me was she's like, "I will always be here for this show, no matter what." And when you get that type of positive reinforcement, I used to call them my day ones. You know what I'm saying? And like I
Right.
made sure that the space that I created was I'm like, yo, these are my people. You know what I'm saying? I gave them a name. I call them the Adult Swim Crew. And it wasn't to build esteem for myself. It was because I rock with these people heavy. You know what I'm saying? And it adds to this whole thing. It adds to this
Right.
what we're doing. Now, you said something earlier that I think is really interesting, which is being willing to move on to other platforms, right?
Mm,
So that is a scary notion. The one thing I had the benefit of, I came to Spoon already doing this on YouTube. You know what I'm saying? So
exactly.
it didn't scare me to go back to just doing it. You know what I'm saying? Like it doesn't bother me that a video only gets 10 views. And it doesn't blow up my mind when a video gets thousands of views. It's just like I've learned to focus on the quality versus the quantity. There was a process to get there because I'm not gonna lie to you. I was like, I want to be famous. I want people to know my greatness. But then I thought about it, I was like,
Eh,
that's not what this is, man. If you keep trying to feed your own ego, it's gonna lead to disaster. So I'm good on it. If it blows up, that's great. In retrospect, if my sons come to my channel after I pass and they're just trying to reminisce about the type of man their dad was or who I was with all my imperfections, they'll have that. And that's worth more to me than 1,000
exactly
applause.
that.
Now, don't get me
Exactly
wrong.
that.
I want to get paid. I want to get
Ex-
paid.
exactly
But
that part. Get that
I'm willing.
woo.
I'm willing to. Yeah, I'm willing to get there.
I feel like that's really important. Like when I initially started pod. I mean, I'm not gonna talk about initially because when I first started, I was just like I was trying to do a little something, something, you know. And this was like in 2012, like 2 videos that I did, 3 maybe tops. Then I
Right.
stopped and I tried again once I realized, yo, got to do something with my voice. I'm doing all these creative things. I want to do something,
Right.
and I kept thinking in the back of my head, just the same thing that you're saying, that I want to make sure my kids and I can document our journey. Like I was watching Gary, I don't know if you know who Gary V is, Gary Vaynerchuk. He talks about, you know, documenting. He's an entrepreneur.
Mhm.
He talks about documenting your journey, how important your voice is, how important it is to go on these platforms to build your business, to build your brand. You know what I'm
Right.
saying? Like you never had a time like before where you can build a brand on free platforms and advertise yourself.
Right. Right.
Period.
Yeah.
Period. And so that's really important, like especially for these people who are, you know, which I'm just gonna ask you, do you consider yourself a DJ?
No. Here's the thing about that.
No.
Here's the thing about that. So one of the things you're talking about branding, right? So when I started doing the request box, ask anyone, it's public record. I would say I am not a DJ. I'm your favorite underground radio host, right? I give mad respect to actual working DJs, and I wanted to make sure that I made that that distinction, right? Because I don't want to be faking jacks. You know what I'm saying? Like I don't want people to think that I'm up here on the ones and twos. Do I have turntables? Yes. Do I know how to beat match? Yes. But that's not what my show is about because I can't
Right.
multitask in that way. I would rather tell the truth and let the truth be the truth, which is I make playlists. I base these playlists off themes. I add conversation to it, and people have fun. You know what I'm saying? And like they have the ability to come in, they share songs with me, and we build community on that. A real DJ is someone like there was a cat on Spoon by the name of DJ Eddie, and he's an old school DJ and extremely talented. There's another there's a DJ by the name. His name was Aaron, but everyone called him Aaron. But it's his name is DJ Aaron. Extremely talented. You know, DJ Sensi Star. I can't remember the other brother's name right now for the life of me. But these were actual DJs that were on the platform, and I wanted to make sure that in making the distinction, I also supported them. Right.
Right.
So we did a night for the DJs type of thing. You know what I'm saying? Where we came up with a flyer, we put an event together. um First DJ went up at like 8 o'clock, and then it, it went 3 DJs in, and it was a great way to show people that like, yo, there are real cats out here that need your support, and I'm always gonna be that way. Support your working DJ. If your homeboy is saying he's a DJ and he needs help carrying the crates, not that people carry vinyl anymore, go support your working DJs, man.
Do you consider yourself an MC then?
Yes. Yes.
Okay.
Master of ceremony. Yes. That is one thing that I do well. I do it extremely well. I know that's a gift that God gave me. You know what I'm saying? I got the gift of gab. I recognize that about myself. I know how to like amp up a situation and amp up a party. Yes. So I would consider myself an MC in that regard. And trying to implement that into different assets, different portions of streaming isn't that difficult for me. You know what I'm saying? It was just I
Right.
had to get comfortable with the fact of, yo, just let it hang out. You know what I'm saying? Have fun. And then building a structure around it. So to answer the question, yes. Like if we were in the auditorium and you were like, yo, take the mic, go get them ready, like I'm gonna go get people ready. You know what I'm saying? Like, I
Exactly.
can do that. I can do that.
Do you
What else
see
you
yourself ever being in radio?
got? Yes, and it's one of those fantasies where like, like a daydream where it's like being in a place where DJ Envy or Charlemagne the God is, or Ebro or something like that. Yes, that because for me, even though people say radio is dead, it obviously isn't, right? It's just that
Mm-mm.
it's not as affluent as it used to be. But look at the Breakfast Club. It was the number one show for quite some time. Maybe not number one syndicated, but number one in the culture in regards to hip hop, right? And that's where people went for that. Dreaming about being a part of something like that is absolutely a warm space for me. Right? Thinking about having a show where people come and like that type of security that comes with doing something like that. And yeah, I do. I dream about it all the time. I've toyed around with the idea of doing the internet radio stuff. I'm not really sure how the numbers work and how you get people to come, but I guess it's just like anything else. You put your first foot forward and then start the journey. You know what I'm saying?
So we're gonna talk about that. That's gonna be a conversation that matters. We're gonna
Right.
talk about it.
Right.
We're gonna
Right.
get into it. Um, good night, baby. I'm trying to do both at the same time. Mommy and my ass. But yeah, like it definitely, I feel like you would definitely be able to bring something to the table that I miss. Cause like one of my radio stations growing up was Power 99 FM. That's
Right.
where I first heard of Wendy Williams.
Mm.
Okay. And I really, really loved her back
Mm.
then. I still love her, but back
She's
then
great.
I really, really loved her.
Right.
and
Y'all say a prayer for Wendy. Y'all say
I'm not gonna say nothing.
a prayer. Go ahead.
But I definitely I loved her so much. I think she is I mean, she's the one real reason why I started my fake radio station,
Yeah.
0.2.2 FM.
Right,
That was
right,
the whole reason why, because of that. And I love her. I love Angela Yee. And I talk about the Breakfast Club every conversation. Somehow I slide it in conversations that don't even make sense. Y'all
right.
talking about sandwiches. Yeah. You know, I love the Breakfast Club. Like that's like
That's what
I'm
happens.
gonna meet Angela Yee. I promise you. I promise you.
Right.
But I feel like for you, like this is why I was like, yo, because I remember asking Tree and Joe, like, who's Steve? Like, we keep talking about this man. Who is Steve? Who is the Hold Up TV? What is this? Where are we? What is this man? And I remember going to your live, and I was like, oh, he a real DJ. Cause that's where my mind went. I'm sorry, my mind went like you was like a big celebrity DJ somewhere out there.
Nah. No. Yo, you know what's crazy about that? I remember when Tree and Jovi interviewed me, which was a huge honor. Like they did Berlin's interview, and that was the second interview, and they were asking me questions. So I will always represent accurately because I don't want to misrepresent anything. Have I moved and shaked in spaces with people that a lot of people are like, "Oh shit," you know? Like, yes, I have. Have I been in spaces where some of the celebrities we might have been talking about right now were in the same room? Yes.
Right.
Does that mean that I'm on speaking terms with them? No. Like, but I have been able to be in spaces where I've got to see some amazing things happen. You know what I'm saying? And
Exactly.
because of that, one of the things, and I said this during the interview, and I said this to privately to some friends, I maybe I could have made a phone call and been like,
Right.
"Yo, help me out, man. Put me on. Put me in front of someone." Right? And there's nothing wrong with doing that. But for me, and I mean this sincerely, that would be the asterisk next to my name if I did that. You know what I'm saying? They would be like, "Oh, that's so and so's little brother," or "Oh, that's so and so's homeboy. He got put on." And there's nothing wrong with getting put on. I would much rather have it happen because of my hard work. Now, that doesn't mean I won't take a helping hand, but I've had enough people who have succeeded at this thing for years try to push me in this direction. You know what I'm saying? And like I've always just like, nah, I'm good, man. I'm a background type of cat, which is a complete lie. Which is a complete. I'm a big mouth, which is a complete lie.
Exactly.
But I would much rather. I want to do it on my own, and not to discredit anyone that's ever gotten a plug. Take that plug if you get it. But I really, this is one thing where it's like this one thing in my life I want to do completely on my own and have it be entirely mine. So I carried myself in a way on Spoon where that was true. You know what I'm saying? Like I never claimed to be a star on Spoon. Actually, my show was a protest towards the quote unquote stars on Spoon. Like the whole thing was based in I'm like, what is popularity really? Like I'm just trying to build something and we'll see. And I got to experience some of that. One night they did this thing called the Spoon Olympics. I remember people listening to this. What me and Miss Margaret were describing, this is an app where the biggest room had 60 people in it. But the egos that existed on this app just
Oh
baffled
my
me. Son.
God.
Baffled me. They did this thing called the Spoon Olympics where people were donating to their favorite streamers. And I went to go support the streamers that I was supposed to support, make sure they got my spoons and all that shit. And it was time for me to do my show. You know how you have that ranking at the end of streams and it's like number 1, number 2, and number 3? On the night where people were dropping major dough for their favorite streamers, I looked up and I was number 4 in that situation. Now, that doesn't speak anything about me, but it's about the community of people that came
Exactly.
and donated their money. You know what I'm saying? And that's why I carried myself the way that I did. It wasn't an ego thing. I've gotten into beef on on Spoon, but it was never about my ego. It was just like, don't disrespect my peoples. You know what I'm saying? Don't assume that you can disrespect me. I'm going to protect this thing as much as I can. And now that it's gone, I will speak fondly of it the same way we speak fondly of exes that maybe weren't that great from the beginning. But
Hmm.
no, no, not a
Yeah.
famous DJ, not a famous DJ, just an ordinary dad.
I feel like nothing about you is ordinary. The fact that you named yourself Steve, real name, no gimmicks, that's a whole thing in itself. Like you can't just name yourself something like that and be like, "Oh, I'm just ordinary." Just a regular dude. Just I'm simple. Like you can't say that.
Let me represent correctly. I want to give a shout out to Detroit. I believe he's from Detroit. Obi Trice, real name, no gimmicks. Obi Trice's real name is Obi Trice. You know what I'm saying? And I was in this situation where people were like calling me the hold up and all that stuff. And then Mantis outed my real name. I was like, I'm not gonna be ashamed of this shit. You know what I'm saying? I'm going by my real name. Real name, no gimmicks. Call me Steve. I'm not out here pretending to be anybody. You know what I'm saying? Like, I don't say my last name because I don't want people Googling me, because then
Right.
that would take away from what I'm trying to do. But yeah, no, I swear I'm just an ordinary dude, man. Y'all, we're all people just doing this damn thing. But maybe when you start having fun with it, you feel like, feel a little different. You're the celebrity. You're you
What?
you were on the
Did nobody know who I was?
you were on the part. Look, I can spin that perfectly. The show was partnered before you came on. People who were already doing the damn thing saw how amazing you were and brought you into it. You know what I'm saying? And why is that? Because once you were a young lady who was influenced by Wendy Williams that pretended to have a radio show and then built something from it. You know what I'm saying? And I know the audience is probably like, all right, if we got to hear one more compliment, but that's what I'm trying to say. You know what I'm saying? Like, you believed it, you lived it, and you did it. You know what I'm saying? That's the thing. That's
I
all it
think
is.
I think that's all you can do in life. You want something, you got to see it with the clear eye view. I
Mhm.
remember playing that Meek Mill song about a billion times over and over again. But I realized that it takes a lot of work and dedication. And I think over the last few months, I started
Right.
to realize that there were some things that happened on Spoon that made me realize, and I don't know about you, that I had to figure out where my focus was
Right.
and what I wanted to do for my journey.
Right.
And sometimes there were moments where I'm like, this might not be for me. And I will allow certain things to happen, but you gotta remember, I'm still from New Jersey.
Yeah. Yeah.
I'm still
Son,
gonna say, no
son,
matter how nice of a blurred I am, I
son.
still
What?
will get that. Yo, this is not for me, hun. This is dead. This is dead. Like I'm not even gonna do it. You know what I'm saying?
I mean, sometimes you got to keep it a buck. I mean, for God's sake, you were on an episode with me where someone came in, they said something, and I was like, "Nigga, what? What the like, like, what did you say, my man? Don't let these fucking microphones fool you. Don't let the internet fool you. Me and you are not.
Exactly.
We are not the same. I use my real name. You use a stage name. Like we're not the same type of person. But I agree with you. Yo. I agree with you. I want to ask you a question, right?
What's up? Let's
10,
let's do this. Let's go into it.
10 years from now, 10 years from
Yeah.
this exact moment, where is it you want to be with this whole thing?
I want to have built a platform where I've used all of my creative talents to support myself and my family
Mhm.
and to bring other people up with me. It's about having a message and bringing people with me. Um, I definitely want to build a platform where I'm able to go into my community and help people, educate young women on how to do things the right way.
Right.
I want to be the Black Betty White.
Oof.
I want to be.
Deep. That's deep. I get that. I get that. I get where you're going with that one. Like,
Listen, I want to be the hip hop Oprah Winfrey Maya Angelou, because
No, that's
Oprah Winfrey ain't saying the word nigga. I'm gonna say it a few
nah,
times. I want to be the Jersey Tabitha Brown.
there you go.
Like, and I have goals to do those things, and I will do them. It may take more than 10 years, but it will
Right,
happen. You know what I'm saying? I'm an artist in all the shapes of the word, whether it be drawing, painting, writing, or rapping.
right,
Um, I've been making beats and producing beats since I was in elementary school.
right,
I'm literally like, this is a Jersey slogan. Like, um, I'm a jack of all trades, but a master of none. My
right,
goal is to be a master of some, though. Like, dead
right.
ass.
Right, right. I'm a master most if I can.
Like,
Exactly.
let me get let me get most, okay?
Right,
But
right, right.
yeah, like, just my goal is just to make sure my family got it. You know what I'm saying? And they can do whatever they want to do with it. And they know that they're loved. And the people that follow me, subscribe to me, they know that they're loved. And I'm also able to influence children, because I do want to make, because I am an educator, I do want to make stuff that has to do with children, whether it be
Right,
like kids videos, kids YouTube. My goal is just to be as creative as possible. Ride this shit out till the wheels fall out.
right.
Be Marvel Storm, like Latoya Justice Shari. My name literally means Latoya Justice Shari Johnson. I'm putting my whole government out. Google me. I don't care. Google me. Google me, Fricks.
Right, right.
My name, Latoya means victorious. Shari means song god. Justice, you already know what justice means. If y'all don't
Yes.
know what that means, go get you a dictionary or a
Yeah, yeah. Go
thesaurus.
get that GED.
Yes. And Johnson means I am. Bitch, when you put that together, what does that
Right.
mean?
It's
I am a
powerful.
victorious song god. So my thing is, when you go into shit with that mentality, you're gonna get things done. Dead
That
ass.
that is a buck, and like I think this is appropriate because it sums it all up for me. You ever seen the movie Do the Right Thing?
Yes.
You remember
Oh
Samuel
yeah.
L. Jackson's character in that movie? The radio host that pops in every once in a while.
Yes. Yes. Yes.
In in my mind, right? In my mind, when if someone that was like when people ask me, "What do you want to do?" I would not be mad, even if it was just the public radio, right? I'm making a living off of it. I'm doing it because I love it. I would be happy having that type of setup. When I was living in LA in North Hollywood, there was this same setup, little radio station, and I think they were playing like trance music and shit like that. And they were definitely high every time I went in there. It was in like a little head shop, but they had their own station. And like I would see the guys in there on the mics talking, and I would tune in and all that, man. And that's where I would be content with that, man. I would be content with being able to do this, provide for my family, deal with the business aspects of it and everything that comes with it. But to envision myself waking up and saying, "Yo, this is your boy Steve, real name, no gimmicks," and we're gonna get into the top 10 of the day. Like that would be an amazing thing, man. And to do it in the community. And when I say community, I obviously mean within, the black community, but to do it in the community we've said over and over again. I would love to continue to do that and bring on the next generation, even if they don't call themselves blurs, of creative young minorities, right? Creative young black and brown people, and be that guy. And I've seen so many channels on YouTube where they started down that path and they got
Right.
mixed up in other stuff, right? And that happened to me with Spoon. And this is why I'm always going to be transparent. Some of my worst days have been on Spoon. You know what I'm
Mm.
saying? Drank too much during the stream. Someone said some shit where I hit him with a message on the side. Like, I am that dude for real. I'm like, hey, we can test your theory. Let's see where this goes.
I'm
But
from
what I've
Harlem, bitch.
Harlem. But to be able to do that, I think what it represents to me is a level of freedom,
Right.
right? You know what I'm saying? It's a freedom, and someone's inevitably going to say, "Well, nah, man, you work for someone," but no, it's not work in my mind, man. If I'm going and I'm plugging in every day, and it's what I just described, that's not work. That's a type of freedom to be creative and just live, man. I think that's what we all want to do, man. For all of us punching into the 9 and 5s and then coming home to make content, doing 2 interviews a day with kids, husbands and wives or whatever, and you still get on this mic and you're like, I'm going to give it my all. You are a content creator.
Exactly.
And that is my distinction. You are a social engineer, and that's all I want to do. I want to be a part of this conversation and this vibe. That's me. That's me.
Beautiful, beautiful.
Are we live on YouTube or something like that? Are we
Oh
live?
yeah, we live.
God damn it! Why you ain't send me the link?
Oh shit. My brain, I got you. But I'm gonna send you the video afterwards. I got your
Okay.
email. I'm gonna send
Okay.
you the whole video. I got you as soon as after because I just learned how to do that shit. I didn't know you could send a whole video. I was like, what? You can do
No,
that?
that's a shout out to StreamYard, man. Yo, thank
Yeah.
you so much for having me on. I really do appreciate this, man.
I appreciate it too. Like, honestly, I was like, yo, Steve really gonna do this? Is Steve
Yeah.
gonna do this?
Yes. yes. The honor is on my side of the table. You know what I'm saying? Like I'll tell you the same thing I told Bex, man. I was done with this the first time we thought Spoon was ending. And I was like, I'm just gonna go back to YouTube. And then I just started doing it infrequently. But conversations with you, doing pillow talk with Bex has kept me like in the mix and it's rejuvenated. So when I say thank you, I mean I really do appreciate the invitation.
I appreciate it too. I appreciate it. But listen, we about to end this real quick, fam. Let them know where they can contact you. And if you want to put a link in the thing or whatever, you can with the little comment or whatever. Let them know where they can hit you up, social media, movie star status, radio stations, all that good stuff.
You can find me all one name, man. The Hold Up TV over across IG, Facebook, YouTube, and Twitch. If you see it say the Hold Up TV one, that's still me. But if you go to YouTube and you see some kids with guns, that's a different group. just come on over here. Hold Up TV, Steve. Real name, no gimmicks. Would love to have you come through.
Yes, thank you so much. We appreciate you, Steve. Well, until next time, this is MC Miss Marvel Storm 110, aka Latoya Justice Shari. If you know me and you just watched Ark Carpe Diem, tell somebody, like, share, comment below. Smooches. Peace. I don't know why I'm looking over that way. That's weird. But who cares?